What's happening, guys? Hope everybody's well. It's Wednesday, the 8th of July. And so we're obviously going to go through the London trading session, what to look out for, where, markets could end up. All right. And so, all things, yeah, good. When I obviously can continue our good run, pretty happy, but obviously it's not been clean. Nothing's been clean. Yesterday was a bit messy. Monday was nice and easy. We only had one trade. But obviously, yeah, want to continue creeping this a bit higher because you know markets, I keep banging on about it. We've got a bit of divergence at the moment, and obviously all divergence mean is that nothing is moving how it's supposed to. So we've got a few things out of kilter. So, first things first, let's obviously have a look at the currencies we trade: euro, pound, Aussie, and the dollar, and yen. All right, we'll start off with yen if we're looking at the overall picture here. So, yen, there's talks of an intervention, but it's not happened yet. All right, like I was explaining yesterday, it's a bit of a long, drawn out process, and they've got to do it quite uh, carefully. So I do think it's coming. It's just obviously when's it coming. So if we've obviously crossed off the list that the intervention hasn't happened yet, we kind of have to go with right. Overall, out of dollar, euro, pound, and Aussie, which one is the strongest? And the the US dollar's outperforming everything. All right, it's very, very strong, very, very, very aggressive. But obviously, like everything, it cannot just go straight up. All right, things have to do this. All right, it has to dip down to then get that momentum to carry on driving to the upside. It's a bit like if you're trying to drive a car and it's you might not be able to do it in the first go. You got to slowly get yourself back back up. So that's a bit like what's happening with the US dollar at the moment. It's strong, but obviously it, yesterday had a little bit of a tail off, but I do think, we're going to see that strength continuing. And then we've got Aussie, not much news coming out of Australia at the moment, but the price of gold, because it's one of the well, it's obviously where gold's mined. It's heavily linked. It's a commodity-based currency. So because the price of gold is high, that's obviously what's, kind of tricking everyone and keeping Aussie high. And then we've got pound and euro, which overall as currencies aren't very strong at all. So I'm kind of expecting, yeah, dollar to kind of take over. Gold, on the other hand, I would say it's getting into kind of overbought territory. That's why late last night we had a nice little, tail off. But I would say, yeah, gold is in kind of overbought currency. So we've got to obviously, take all of this into consideration, and obviously that's us, kind of stenciling our trading picture out for today. So not only, we obviously understand what's happening with all of them in regards to Aussie gold's holding up, euro and pound pretty weak. Dollar is, strong, but it obviously needs these what they call peaks and troughs to obviously continue. And obviously yen, we've got this intervention kind of, looming. Probably 90% sure it will happen during Asia. We're just going to wake up in the morning and it's going to be like whomp. So, all of these things we can kind of start to paint our picture a bit of obviously what is happening. News for today. Um, not a lot. We've obviously got FOMC meeting minutes tonight. We've got consumer credit tonight, but obviously, probably the only one that might do anything is Atlanta GDP. But that's obviously going to be later on. 9 times out of 10, we obviously like to be out of the markets by that time anyway. And so, we're obviously going to go heading on with that kind of tailwind of optimism here. Going over to the macro tool, I'm really obviously trying to look at it from everyone else's eyes. All right, I've generated my report that this morning, and it's bob on. All right, so make sure you're generating it, and looking looking through here. I mean, Phil has asked me, Dan, can you please remind me of who you're following to get up to date, solid news? So yeah, I use obviously investing.com for the calendar. There's forex factory. They're pretty much all as they are. There's quite a few of them. However, I do have access to a Bloomberg Terminal 2, which I do tend to kind of read through, but not kind of scathe through. But I'm pulling data from everywhere, and I'm putting it in the correct way to generate these reports. So if anyone wants an overall macro view, let's go through it on the software that I've created here, and I'll show you obviously how to break it down. All right, so orange here, opportunity today, trade with discipline, gold and cable. For anyone who doesn't know, I created a glossary. So cable is GBP USD. I'll show stronger moves with overbought signals. Patience on pullbacks will reward disciplined entries. Blah 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 blah. So this is very very important here. All right, because this is your beginner. I've tried and I've done, believe it or not, it doesn't look like it, but I've done a lot of work on this bit because it's condensing everything down that you should be, looking at here, so everything's here, even things like, with the Fed still hawkish relative to ECB. Remember, if you don't understand what hawkish is, it's in the glossary. But the rate differential alone isn't holding euro down. It's broader USD weakness, USD JPY steady. So I break down everything. I break down every individual pair. We've also got the trading cards here, where we've obviously got the support and resistance, levels. I mean, speeches, war, what's going on in the world. X is, you're not gonna go too far wrong with X. I would, what I would do is, yeah, look up things like Trump, Fed, you can save all these things. I'm still relatively new to X. I've been doing it probably about two years, and yes, there's a lot of obviously rubbish on there, but I'll share my X, and obviously you can see who I follow and stuff like that. To be honest, Phil, he's put just need trusted outlets. We're in a world of data, unfortunately, that there is not very many trusted outlets, even the mainstream, media, I mean, it's not trusted, and so you've got to kind of, yeah, pick and choose what you read. Um, excuse me. And yeah, you've got to yeah, really kind of go through it. But what I'll do, I'll share my X on here a bit later on, and then everyone can see who I'm kind of following, and maybe you'll obviously want to follow the same guys too, because I'm using my X account for trading only. So right, let's have a look at this here. What is happening? Where? Why? How? So. the dollar at the moment, all right? Again, we're chatting about this 101 area here. It's holding, and I'm pretty happy with this overall trend. I do see a nice pump here. And I do see dollar drifting back up to this 101,500. I don't see any reason why, we should be coming down here and challenging 101,500. Data coming out is strong. So yeah, 10-year yields screaming higher. This was obviously yesterday, and this is what surprised me yesterday because I was expecting gold. The move it did later on, I was expecting it to do it a bit earlier. So yeah, but with obviously with yields, screaming higher, that's obviously, showing that yes, there's a little bit more confidence, and obviously we're back in these kind of higher, zone here. So this should be a very, very nice tailwind for the dollar, and I do think if yields hold, dollar does need to catch up. If we again, look at right, yields were back at this height, 11th of June, and then if we look at where dollar was, 11th of June, we were down here. All right, so you can kind of see that there's a real kind of disconnect here as opposed to what is happening. These two should run in tandem. We've got a little bit of a risk appetite, in the markets in regards to, stock markets down, even though Trump come out in a random speech and said, watch the, stock markets, they're going to be screaming higher, yesterday, and obviously that's what gave everything a bit of a boost. But yeah, the guy is starting to really irritate me now. Not in a horrible way, but yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, um, you know, I I so Aussie, I'm kind of staying away from for the time being. I just want to see a bit of stability before we look to enter it. It's very, very messy. Yes, we've just made a new, low here. So if we were to, let me mark this out for everyone so you can see, this highlighter tool's great for trend. All right, you can see trend here quite clean. Yeah. All right. But then we've got this move here. Yeah. Where we've broken through these, lows. All right. And so potentially could, see this kind of trading down into this area here. Right. That's what I'm expecting. Uh, GBP, stay here, similar thing. I'd like to fade this to the downside, but I just couldn't see the realization of us popping up here. That would have been my entry. So yeah, I stayed away from that one. Euro here, just wanted this to pop up a bit more. So that is yeah, one very, 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 similar here. We've obviously broken through this low here. We have to appreciate that obviously when price comes up, when price drives down, it needs to come back up to then drive back down again. And I do think we should see this area here get targeted. So that is obviously one thing that I'm interested in on euro, particularly with it being overall relatively weaker at the moment. USD JPY hasn't quite triggered yet. Want this to. Oh no, it has. It should have triggered. Let me have a look. I haven't looked at my trading, so let's have a look. Yes, we have, team. Yes, we have. Right, perfect. That's how much I just obviously put these in place and leave them. So I'm pretty happy with this. We've obviously got a couple of areas here. One would be this one here, all right, and then the next one will be this one here. I think if these two clean it, then we should be looking to take this a lot higher, potentially challenging these. I think before anything happens like this again, I do think this has to be challenged here. And so pretty happy. USD JPY owes us from yesterday. So lovely trigger here. So really happy. And then last but not least, obviously gold here. I was hoping for a nice little push up here. We didn't quite get it. So I might write this one off, in regards to obviously what is happening. I might, as we are, cleaning to the downside pretty heavily, I might even look to take lower. Oh, don't know why I just did that. Go away. There we go. I might obviously look to take a lower time frame trade on this one here, but we'll wait and see, and obviously I'll keep you guys updated on that one because yeah, that's 100% not going to trigger, and I think if it did trigger, it's going to be no use to us this morning. So just obviously going through questions here. Leo, they've started another attack on Iran, and oil is moving up again. Let's have a look at this because obviously oil is only 0.26% up. So, we're still at pretty kind of, low levels here. I think for us to be, worried about proper escalation again, we need to be trading probably above this area here. All right. So talks are still obviously ongoing. There's not been obviously much data coming out. I kind of just want this over. Trading without any kind of escalation, how we trade is very easy. Obviously, all you've got to do is understand the overall outlook, and we can catch the tailwind in any direction that we want. And so yeah, that's we'll wait and see. Obviously, what happens here, but yeah, I think what we've got to remember is all needs to be trading above 80 for us to obviously, signal that, global kind of worry, and it's not so much about the oil either. It's about the Strait of Hormuz. Is it open? Is it closed? Having it closed is the horrible kind of worrying point of it. So yeah. Does anyone have any questions? Any more for any more? Happy to answer anything. Happy to answer anything. I'll give you guys my yeah, for Phil. I hear it's closed and open. Yeah. Yeah, well, pretty much. Bitcoin wants a bit of Bitcoin. Oh, excuse me. Cat. So Bitcoin, I don't think there's much to report here. Remember, guys, if the dollar is strong, what is Bitcoin traded against? The US dollar, So unless you're buying it whole without leverage, you're always going to be trading it against the US dollar. So I actually do believe that we could hit this. I've heard rumors of 45k. Now, I don't normally recommend to buy, but if this does get tapped, I probably would if buy a bit of Bitcoin because I don't think the next kind of the next cycle, I don't think we will be back at these areas ever again. But obviously, yeah, be patient. If we've got a very strong US dollar, there's no reason for obviously Bitcoin to pump. Why would you? There's lots more, safer assets out there which are yielding higher that you could investing. What is written in the FOMC meeting minutes? Normally, it's not that high impact because all it is meeting minutes, all right, of what has happened. So yeah, we can kind of gather what's going to happen. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to be um, confident. They're not going to predict any. future targets, because that's obviously one of like Kevin Walsh's, mandates here. He's not gonna give anything away. And yeah, so I think everyone's gonna have already pre-priced that in, so it's not something that we need to worry about. Um, any more for any more. Right, I'm going to hold this off here. Really, really appreciate everyone logging in. Hope you've enjoyed it, and yeah, let's make sure that we, stick to the plan. Today or this week is just about sticking to the plan. So let's go, team.